Have you ever wanted to win games of Kill Team without the pesky hassle of having to have fun? Let me introduce you to passive-aggressive Kill Team. Hey, do you feel that learning the gotchas of every team in the game is too hard and you're tired of losing to sweatlords who no-life the game? I've got great news. Now with passive-aggressive Kill Team, gotchas don't matter because you don't need to play the game. You can't get gotcha'd if you don't interact with the enemy in the first place. Warning, this video is actually just like a minor guide on how to play Ratlings and how good the security TACOP is, but don't worry, I'll mainly be taking the piss out of the game. Why call it late game defensive playstyle when I can call it passive aggressive Kill Team? It's called entertainment, folks. Look, if you would like your how to play guides in a less actually interesting format, do try any other Kill Team content creator. There are some great 3-hour videos filled with such awkward pauses followed by awkward laughs that I actually consider them comedy genius, and they could be written as a cringe UK comedy before becoming actually successful when redone for the US market. Kill Team is a fast-paced skirmish game. Wait, what? Sorry, you're saying that the round time at the World Championship is 4 hours? Kill Team is a game of wildly variable length that in its latest edition has a huge focus on killing. You get victory points for standing on objectives and for killing dudes. It's supposed to be fun, and I get my fun from keeping things light on the brain and fast-paced. I follow the ABCs. Always be charging. But if I ever win a tournament, that will instantly be rebranded as always be cucking, and on that day I shall truly ascend to the chaos godhood of insufferability. So a big shout out to all the players out there stopping that from happening. Legit, not even joking there. That's literally 50% of you, by the way. I'm a 2 wins, 2 losses player at best. Let's not pretend otherwise, you know. Despite the name Kill Team, there is an effective way of winning, not by being aggressive, but by being passive aggressive. If you want to bring your r/dead bedroom vibes to the tabletop, the security TACOP and Rattling faction is the team for you. Quick aside, the genuine reason to play passive-aggressive Kill Team, or to be precise, a late-game defensive faction, is that your game plan remains largely the same regardless of the enemy. And so very genuinely, once you have your game plan sorted, it almost doesn't matter what your enemy does. Your game plan wins regardless of them. Many teams can play the late-game defensive strategy. You just need a certain number of activations and access to the right TACOPs. Now, before we dive into it, I'd like to give a subscriber-only benefit, and that is a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. Truly the bitter, jaded sarcasm of Glass Half Dead knows no bounds. Drop a comment and that double pleasantry could be yours. Also, you know, I use a whole bunch of cool gear and equipment for Kill Team when I play. I have links to discount codes on all that stuff that I use. If you see it and you think, oh, that's cool, it enhanced my experience too. And if you're buying Warhammer in the UK, I have affiliate links with Whaling Games and Element Games, both of which I personally buy from, so I recommend both. And if you're in the US, I've got a link to Wargame Portal. And if you're ever buying Warhammer, you should always be clicking on someone's affiliate link. It's free support. Cost you nothing extra. There is precisely one TACOP in the game that not just doesn't require you to kill the enemy, but this one doesn't even need you to enter the enemy's half of the board. Even the most heavily circle jerked of TACOPs, plant beacons, still needs you to be in enemy territory for half of your points from TACOP. Security gives you 2 options for avoiding the worst part of Kill Team: interacting with other humans. First up is take ground. This is easy. Have more APL on a stronghold that is at least partly in your enemy's territory on Volcus. Volcus only has 2 maps where there isn't a stronghold straddling the center line. Keep in mind that although the stronghold is on the center line, you don't need to cross that line to control the stronghold. But every stronghold that crosses the center line has an objective in it, so they can never be ignored. And one of the keys to playing passive-aggressive Kill Team is not doing anything. Yeah, pretty simple really. But to not do anything, you need to be standing on your objective and the central objective. Forget the enemy's objective, but you do need the center. Which brings us to the King TACOP, Contain. This TACOP simply requires that no enemies are wholly on your half of the board, and you get 2 victory points. With that noted, and our desire to be passive-aggressive, we need to look at all of the teams with access to security. Angels of Death. So awkwardly, I didn't finish this part of the script. I was going to list every team with the security archetype as if I was like padding my word count on this script or something, but I didn't, and frankly good, because what a waste of everybody's time. Moving on. But we want to play the game without playing the game, so it's not just who has access to security, it's also who can out-activate the opponent so that they never have to make any decisions. As an example, Angels of Death or Wrecker Crew can play Contain, but once you've made 6 activations, all you're doing is letting the enemy steal your victory points as they out-activate you. Elites are tough to kill, but with Contain, you're letting people deny your scoring by ignoring you. A real passive-aggressive faux pas. Instead of going over all the other teams, I'm just going to tell you like the final breakdown. 3 teams that can play passive-aggressive and have a strong chance to win by doing it. Exaction Squad, Inquisitorial Agents, and Ratlings. All of these are viable. They're all good. Exaction Squad are shield spam, then shoot into melee spam. They fight first and double block, and you hit on 4s. If there's anything in this world that I hate more than myself, it's hitting on 4s. Miss me with that shit. Inquisitorial Agents are 12 models, much better, obviously, and they take Exaction Squad as their auxiliaries, so they're still fighting first, double blocking, and shooting into combat, but they also get their shenanigans of Inquisitors with more tools for specific jobs, and ridiculous auras that minus the enemy attack dice, plus get interrupts. Very strong, totally OP, I hate them, I will be playing them soon, yes. Which brings us to Ratlings. 11 models, but their front line are Bullgrins with 16 wounds, double block, 4/6 damage with shock, easy access to rerolls. But you can take 5 equipment, and you have access to 2 tripwires. I know what you're thinking, Andy, 3 Bullgrins? I'll just ignore them and run around them. You can't ignore them when I take 2 light barricades, a supermine, 2 tripwires, a barbed wire, and still then have 3 more equipment to buff my guys. The only spaces left on the center line are deliberately decided by me, and they're only there to make sure my Bullgrins get a reroll for when you, pressured into action after realizing I'm going to win by ignoring you, foolishly charge one of them. That's why Ratlings are the true passive-aggressive kill team, because of the area denial provided by their equipment and the meat wall of double parry Bullgrins. And did I mention we can shoot into combat when you do charge them? I think I did, but I'm mentioning it again. And you know what the overall game plan is against elites? I just dick around at the back of the board until you run out of your operatives, and activations. You've had your 6 activations, I still have 5 dudes to go. You had no targets at the start of turn 2, so you gave me initiative, but I don't need targets, and now I've moved my Bullgrin into the one spot you could actually get through, the center line, this turn. Okay, look, if you don't care about Ratlings, that's the passive-aggressive pitch. Block the center line. Turn 1, you barely move up. Turn 2, you do backline stuff for as long as you can. By the time your opponent has activated their whole team, you'll still get half your team to go. Turn 2, every other team goes aggressive, you go passive. You're positioning for a strong turn 3, not an aggressive turn 2. Now let's deep dive the true short kings, not the stolen valor dwarf teams who claim to be short. Let's discuss the Ratling team in general for those not yet convinced of passive-aggressive superiority. We start with list building, cover the ploys, then do a few at-the-table scenarios to show what I mean. These guys have a roster, damn. Step 1 of anyone getting into a team is which models to bring. And I'm going to keep this simple because it's the second most complicated list building out there. First up, the big boys. You are always taking 3 of them. Saving 1 command point a turn does not equal an Ogryn. If I could give up 3 command points in the game to take a 4th Ogryn, I definitely would. That's how you know they're good. Also, Ogryn is a misnomer. When I say Ogryn, I do not mean the Ogryn. I mean the chassis. I mean the Ogryn and every possible loadout of the Bullgrin. If you don't want to magnetize or buy more than 3 Ogryns, give them all power mauls and slab shields. Done. End of conversation. That is your default pick into every match. Double parrying is what you want into every elite or melee team. It can't be beat. There are niche scenarios where you may be better off with the grenade gauntlet or the other shield, but even into those matchups, a double parry and maul will still be a good thing to have and be actively used. Use case for the Ogryn, as the actual data sheet Ogryn, is simple in the passive-aggressive game plan. He is your counter-charge punch. You want one of them on your bench. He doesn't go on the front line. He gets placed within charge distance of your other 2 slab shield Bullgrins for turn 2. He gets +1 APL from the comms. He will charge, doing D3 +1 damage on the charge, fight and kill, then shoot with his gun. Or if it's a super tough model, shoot into combat, charge, fight. Also heads up, one of the extra pieces of equipment you'll be taking is frag and crack grenades, so your Bullgrins will get ranged attacks when they need it too. Bullgrins are there to get charged, not to charge. You need the enemy on engage orders for other reasons. That's why you need the double parries so much. On to the little guys. Generic sniper, never taken. Hard bit, never taken. If you're on Gallo Dark, you drop the Raider for the Stash Master. If you're on open, you take the Raider. If you're against a team that will legit never charge you, I suppose you could drop the Battle Mutt, but I wouldn't. Screw it, you know what? This is my dumb guide. You always take the Battle Mutt. He's great. With your list sorted, let's have a quick chat about how you're using these models, as this is an intimidating part of any kill team. Lots of specialists, lots of things to remember. I get it. But the good news is that passive-aggressive play gives you the space to do what you need without pressure. Spotter gives Seek Light and remove obscuring. Stash Master taps a point for free. Comms is comms, which with this game plan will always go on an Ogryn. Raider has a teleport move. Pick a spot within 6 inches, then jump that height +1 where you want. Must have visibility. I'll break that down fully at the table, don't worry. But on Volcus, you can just think of it as an 11-inch move and you'll be right. Bomber is a champion every game. Strong melee, stronger grenade, increases the strength of your mine equipment, and allows you to take 2 tripwires. Literally the most mandatory model on the team above all others. His gameplay is similar to everyone else's, but he's going to be doing it expected to die after his play, because he'll be within 3 inches of the enemy on engage. Big Shot needs no explanation, he's your biggest gun. Fixer is your leader, and you always take the sniper rifle, not the battle rifle, and as a strategic gambit he can give one enemy lethal 5s when you shoot him. Just needs visibility. And that's the team. I realise now we've gone this far and I haven't explained the aggressive part of passive-aggressive game plan, right? Okay, so we're getting there, but Ploys first. You've got good Ploys, so you'll be spending command points. Strategic Ploys. Let's start with the most important. Ogryn rerolls. You need to be within the enemy territory, not wholly within. Never wholly within. If you're wholly within, your plan is crumbling. Just toe over the line or within 3 inches of an objective. This is easily done, but just remember it. This gets you balanced on all attacks, fighting, retaliating, and shooting. Balanced when shooting with rifles over 6 inches, which should be always. Use this. Then you have super conceal and silent rifles when within 1 inch of heavy. Both situationally useful, depending on the map and the enemy team. You don't always need these, but sometimes silent and super conceal will allow you a much more threatening position turn 2 and a lot more dead enemies going into turn 3, making the game much easier. Done. Firefight Ploys. Your keys here are Larcenous and Sharp Shot. Larcenous is the best objective steal in the game. You don't need to control an objective to tap it, and you can tap it when in control range of the enemy. Obviously, the usefulness of this will vary wildly depending on the crit op, but this alongside the Raider's huge move can easily be the game-winning play turn 2 when the enemy gives you initiative because they have no plays into you yet. Instead of passing and waiting, which you could do on some crit ops, Raider and Larcenous puts you into a winning position in the first activation. Sharp Shot lets you shoot into melee. This speaks for itself. They charge your Ogryn, you parry them out, you shoot them. Let's talk about your biggest negatives as Ratlings though. All your good shooting is heavy. Not heavy dash, straight heavy. Also, you are tiny, which is a controversial take, but legit it is unfair to base your Ratlings on cool heightened bases because it makes them stronger. I will talk about this specific issue at the table because it needs an example to show just what I mean. Every good weapon is heavy, which means shooting is hard. So let's finally get into Scarper and how the aggressive part of passive-aggressive works. Every other enemy activation, you get a chance to Scarper, which is a 3-inch dash for any Ratling model. Except your Sneak who gets Scarper, but as an interrupt, to cut a long story short there. This is a dash that's outside of your activation, and so if you can get your big gun Ratlings 3 inches away from a strong shooting position, you have a 3-3 Dev 3 shot that can't be stopped. And thanks to faction equipment, Lucky Shot and Purloined Rations, once per turn any of your rifle shots can be +1 to hit or severe. And don't forget, everyone getting lethal 5 into whoever your leader marked as a strategic gambit. Hopefully now you see how to play the aggressive angle, and if you are struggling to get these Scarper shots off, or they're a more horde shooting team you're playing into, We simply pay the command points to go super conceal and silent. If your guns are silent and you have super conceal, you can position your little guys much more aggressively. Note that when I say aggressively, I still purely mean defensively. You wait for the shots you can take from the back line. Every time you go to move, ask yourself this: do you like to take back shots or give back shots? If you want to give back shots, you have to be at the back. Otherwise, you will get charged and then you will be taking back shots. No, I'm not aware of any other usage of the word back shots. Thank you for asking. It must now be noted that all of these guns also can be shot mobile, which is just a bolter hitting on fours. This cannot be advised, ever. Unless you're ignoring this guide and are playing implant, in which case this isn't the guide for you. What are you doing? In this guide, we will only kill to punish the enemy for poor movement and Ogryn aggression. We don't hunt them down. We annoy them by passing until they have to make a decision or lose from inaction, because our inaction wins us the game. Passive-aggressive theory lesson is finished. Let's go to the table so I can show you a few examples of what I've said here. Plus, discuss some of the cons to being so passive-aggressive in your life. So Scarper can sound really weird and confusing. Let me very quickly break it down for you. The enemy makes an action. It then goes to a Scarper window. We choose whether or not to Scarper. Let's say we Scarper, right? There we go. This guy's going to Scarper 3 inches that way. That's a Scarper. We then have our activation. This guy's going to go over there. We then go back to the enemy. They jump over here and shoot. Cool. We then go to Scarper window. We cannot Scarper because we have to skip the next Scarper step. We activate, we go there. Back to the enemy. They jump down here. Next Scarper window, back to us. We Scarper that guy up to there. Boom. We can now activate. We shoot this guy. That is how Scarper works. Of course, we could do it the other way around. We get to our first ever Scarper window with this guy moves here. We choose not to Scarper at our first window. Instead, we just move this guy up naturally. Then the enemy goes again. Okay. Now, because we didn't Scarper in our last window, we have the opportunity. He can now Scarper forwards. Cool. Now, a word of advice when you're Scarpering is that it's very, very easy to lose track of when you last Scarpered. Unfortunately, what I had to do very often in this tournament was I had to consider, okay, how many guys have you activated? Okay, so that means I had 3 Scarper windows, but I've only Scarpered 2, and then the last Scarper, cool. Here's how you have to get it into it. You have to be very mechanical with it. Every time you have a Scarper window, you take anything. It could be one of your random sleeved up cards. Scarper window, I choose to Scarper. That means you flip it. It could be anything. If this random third place bronze token, third place, of course, the best place. First place, absolute sweatlord. Second place, you're just, like best of the worst. Who cares? Third place, you know what you're doing, but you're not a sweatlord, right? Scarper window, I choose not to Scarper, so I keep it face up knowing I'm still available. I do my action. Next time I choose to Scarper, I flip it. Cool. Next activation, it's not a Scarper window, I flip it back. Simple. Just make sure every time you're actively keeping track of the Scarper window with some token. So think about your centerline blockade, right? Where do you want things? You want to drop a tripwire, let's say back here, because you want to stop the enemy base from being wholly within your side. So you measure out 1 inch from this so that when they stop, they are not wholly within your side. You might also want to block this one off. You drop that there because it slows them down. Maybe you want to mine over here to stop them there. But again, remember, when you're placing these things, if it would be possible and if it would give you a better way of stopping them, you could even put it here. Now, yes, they're wholly on your side, but it means that when they trip it, you are then able to shoot them. Or perhaps you have mentally planned to put that there and you know they're going to go here, avoiding that. And you've got your Ogryn this side ready to charge. And then you've got your big shot here ready to shoot. So if you are luring them onto your side, have a way to deliberately deal with an enemy wholly on your side of the terrain. And of course, don't forget that blocking a team of 25s is going to be much easier than blocking a team of 40s, where you can end up placing things. This is a very good board setup for blocking, but so I'm not able to show it very well, but as an example, if somebody is behind here, even on a 25, they are not wholly on my side of the terrain. So I don't need to put a tripwire right there. I can have it way back here, because for them to be in my territory, they need to be there. So I can put this way back, which gives me lots of flexibility on where I can place things, the more places I can blockade, etc. But then if we look at this piece here, a 40mm base has to be there, and so my tripwire would have to be there to stop it being wholly within my side. But on a 25, they are now scoring and stopping my TACOP contain. So keep in mind that 40, 32s, much easier to stop than 25s. A very general rule of thumb, and it does change depending on the team and depending on the map layouts much more than anything else, especially Volkers versus Into the Dark, is that as a general rule, you want to place all of your mines and your tripwires and your barricades as far back as possible. If you can place a barricade there to have the same effect as placing it there, then you definitely should. Very important to note that for triple arms and mines, your little dudes can go straight over them, no issue. They can run straight through a mine, no problem. But when it comes to an Ogryn, they will blow up your mines, but they will not trip your alarms. That's very important to note. So don't forget that your mine, which you will always place because it's very good, 2d3+3 thanks to your bomber, is going to block you just as much as the enemy. So place that where you genuinely want a dead part of the board. Over here makes a lot of sense. You never want to go through there, you'll go through the door. You are then forcing them to go through the door, which means they're very controllable. Let's discuss the Raiders' move. So you measure 6 inches horizontally, which gives me to there. It doesn't matter about the vertical height here. So I'm in range of this piece of terrain. This piece of terrain is 4 inches high. So you take X, which is 4, plus 1. So that's 5 inches. And then I measure from here, horizontally, 5 inches, which puts me over to there. So his move, in this instance, would be up to there, which would put me directly onto the enemy's objective. Now, you can't charge with this. It's only a reposition, so you can't end it in engagement range. But even if there were an enemy on this point, I would now be able to use lastness for 1 CP, and even though I'm only 2 CP and they might be a Marine with 3 CP, boom, I am able to steal that point from them. Incredibly strong. Okay, let's have a quick think about how the bomber can be more aggressive than perhaps you might think in the first place. Great counter punch, but also when needed, when you have a big shot coming up, also can be used aggressively. So your enemy moves up to here thinking they're safe. I mean, look how far back we are. And you know that everybody here is heavy. Great, nice. So you then get a Scarper action, which you take with your bomber. You move forwards 3 inches. That's your Scarper. Superb. Now their weapon is only a 3-inch range, so you're way out, and it's heavy, but it's heavy reposition. So you then move 5 up to there. That puts you to within 2 inches. Thanks to your Scarper, you throw the grenade, you smash them. Just keep in mind that that Scarper ability really does give you extra range. It means that one of the most powerful grenades in the game has actually an 11-inch threat range, which is almost impossible to miss if you can get your activations correct. And let's have a quick look at how the sneak and its evade is slightly different and can work in combination with the Scarper. So your enemy makes an action, at which point you choose to interrupt their activation and make a 3-inch dash with your sneak. There you go, that's then an evade for him. He's done. Cool, enemy action done, you done with your evade, which is technically an interrupt. You then get to Scarper again, because although in your head you're thinking, well, that's a dash, I'm doing that instead of a Scarper, you're not. And it's a different timing window to the Scarper, so I've managed to dash, and now I can activate. Finally, let's have a quick look at how the battle map works. Your enemy charges your guy here. Now, because this dude is within 6 inches of the battle mat, and let's be clear, it is your friendly that needs to be within 6 of the battle mat, not the enemy. Because somebody finished within 2 inches, whether it's a reposition or a charge or whatever, I can activate this. You measure 6 inches from your battle mat, and anybody within that 6 can then move away 3 inches. So if the enemy finishes here, they're both within 2 inches, even if it's here. So they don't have to charge this one. But because this one's within 2, they can dash 3. And this one can also dash 3 away, saving them. Now, this operative can still shoot, but obviously because it's charged, it can't reposition or dash again. So it's in the open. If we aren't able to dash out of line of sight, so it could still shoot, it could. But of course, you can make a 3-inch move, which means if you're concealed, then As long as you're behind heavy, you are now safe. This only happens once per turn, but once per turn is really, really good. Now let's talk about the cons. To me, there's two. First is your big genuine weakness and my true frustration for this team. You know me. You know I'm a hobby king, a hobby lover. I'm a slut for pain. What could be cooler than putting all your Ratlings on awesome elevated bases, the rolling hills of Hobbiton, or dirty planks for that grimdark trench warfare, or just some rocky outcroppings to display them better? Here's the thing though, this team is very sadly much stronger if they're taller. You see this right here, my face talking to you from the eye line, the visibility you would have to draw from your Ratling, and what's between us? A stronghold. Strongholds are very important on Volcus. Well, guess what? You can't see it, but between the Ratling and me, there's 3 Space Marines holed up in that stronghold. And the default models are not tall enough to see into strongholds, but only just. If you are a team that can go full silent, full super conceal, and have ways to remove obscurity, you then have to be pretty strict with their genuine sightlines. Ratlings cannot see into strongholds unless the enemy is right up next to the wall. So you really do need them to be at their true height so you can check if you have visibility genuinely raw. You getting free shots into strongholds genuinely changes the power level of this team strongly to your advantage. The alternative, of course, being to have your cool models on the board and then when visibility comes up, pull out the default size models. If GW wants to play true line of sight rules, which sucks, we all agree, I know, we have to pay attention to massive power level differences when you change your model. I'm super relaxed about proxies and conversions. The more the better. Sisters of Battle of Space Marines? Great. Necron Destroyers as Raveners? The more the better. Because those are all only minor changes within teams that have no way to take advantage of those increased or decreased visibility changes. But raising the head height of a Ratling shall not be tolerated. And then the final con, which is hugely subjective, unlike the previous objective con, is the playstyle. Is playing this way fun? Honestly, not really. It doesn't really make me blow my load, if you know what I'm saying, right? If I'm being honest with you. I like to charge, I like to melee, I like to, in essence, not think. Throw caution to the wind and let the dice decide who's the better man. That isn't Ratlings, and it isn't the contain tac-op. It's not that it's bad, it's just not good. It simply isn't a fun way to play Kill Team for me. It's tactical, I'll give it that, and there's a fun in that. There's fun in playing a team others don't know in a way they don't expect. But it isn't how I would choose to play the game. But of course that's very individual, and drop a comment if you think that actually passive-aggressive Kill Team is fun. Alrighty, that's Ratlings and that's Contain. Check out my affiliate links if you're cool. Goodbye. Dunzo, mate.